The baby stopped breathing. James Blackwood, Manhattan's coldest billionaire, is screaming for help in an emergency room, holding a child that isn't his. The mother is Maid. The reason police are questioning her? A missing ring worth more than she'd earn in 10 years. What happened in the 18 hours before this moment will destroy you. The ex-fiancée, the fake evidence, the choice that saved them all. This is what really went down. This is what really went down. If you're here for stories about unexpected connections, second chances, and plot twists that'll wreck you, smash that subscribe button right now. We drop stories like this every day on Echoes of Hope, and what's coming after this one will blow your mind. Now let's dive in. The text came at 5:47 a.m. Emergency closure. Water main break. Sorry for inconvenience. Sarah Mitchell read it 3 times, sitting in a studio apartment where heat was a luxury, staring at her 18-month-old twin boys sleeping peacefully, completely unaware their mother's survival plan just collapsed. Her shift at the Blackwood estate started in 1 hour, and James Blackwood had one rule everyone knew: no children. Ever. Here's what you need to understand about James Blackwood, and pay attention because this detail becomes crucial in about 8 minutes. This man once fired a chef for using regular salt instead of pink Himalayan, fired a driver for arriving 4 minutes late, dismissed an entire security team because one guard smiled in the elevator. He didn't do warmth. He did precision and distance. Sarah had survived 3 months by being invisible, but today, invisibility wasn't an option. So she made a choice that was either brilliant or career suicide. She packed up Jake and Tyler, loaded them into a double stroller, and at 6:52 a.m. pushed them through the service entrance of a $50 million mansion. The storage room was perfect, forgotten, dusty, tucked behind the industrial laundry in the West Wing. She spread a blanket, set up cartoons on her phone, created a fortress of safety for her boys. Mama's gotta work. Be so quiet. I'll check every 10 minutes. Jake grabbed her hair and giggled. Tyler clapped. They had no idea. For 3 hours, it worked. Sarah dusted, polished, cleaned, checking on them every 9 minutes like clockwork. She thought she'd pulled it off. Then at 10:17 a.m., she heard the front door open. James Blackwood never came home early. But worse than that, she heard something else. Something that made her blood freeze. A child's laugh, echoing through rooms that had never heard that sound. Hold on, because what happens in the next 60 seconds changes everything, and you need to see how this connects to what happens in the emergency room later tonight. Sarah ran. Not walked. Ran. She rounded the corner and stopped dead at a scene that looked impossible. Jake and Tyler sat in the center of James Blackwood's pristine marble floor, surrounded by an explosion of pots and pans, drumming like they discovered the world's greatest instrument, squealing with joy, completely oblivious to the man standing 10 feet away. James Blackwood, charcoal suit, briefcase in hand, face shifting from confusion to fury in real time. His eyes found Sarah's. This was it. The firing. The end. Everything collapsing. James opened his mouth. Tyler dropped his wooden spoon. And then, with the fearless determination only an 18-month-old possesses, Tyler began crawling. Straight toward James. Across that massive marble floor. James stared down like he was watching a bomb roll toward him. Tyler reached his feet, sat back, lifted both arms high. Dada. The word detonated. Now watch this carefully, because what James does right here is the only reason he's able to save Tyler's life in 9 hours. Remember this moment. James Blackwood laughed. A real, involuntary laugh that sounded like it surprised him more than anyone. Then he crouched down and let Tyler grab his finger. Something cracked in his face. The ice melted just enough to show something underneath. Something that looked like memory, like pain. Jake abandoned his pots and crawled over to join. Within seconds, both boys were pulling themselves up on James's $3,000 suit, babbling nonsense, completely certain they'd found a friend. Sarah waited for the explosion. Instead, James wrapped his arms around both of them with the careful uncertainty of someone who'd never held anything this fragile. Which one said that? His voice came out gentle. Tyler, Sarah managed. I'm so sorry. The daycare closed and I didn't have anywhere. You didn't think to tell me. I couldn't lose this job. Raw truth. I can't afford to lose this job. James didn't respond. Just sat there on that marble floor while Jake examined his tie and Tyler babbled at him like they were having a conversation. Then James said 5 words Sarah never expected. "They're not a problem, Sarah." She gripped the doorframe. "What? They're not a problem. You should have told me. But they're not a problem." Hold that thought, because in 6 hours, those exact words become the only thing standing between Sarah and a police interrogation. But first, things are about to get complicated. The changes happened fast. Too fast. James started working from home, taking calls from his study while Tyler put sticky handprints on expense reports and Jake built book towers that kept falling. One morning Sarah was folding laundry, humming without thinking. An old song her grandmother taught her. "What song is that?" She spun. James stood in the doorway, hands in pockets, expression curious. "Just something my grandmother sang." He nodded, started to leave. Paused. "Don't stop. It's nice." That night, 2 a.m., Tyler woke up screaming. Sarah was warming a bottle when James appeared in sweatpants and t-shirt, hair disheveled, looking human. "Everything okay?" "Just teething." He didn't leave. He sat down at the small table and just stayed. Sarah swayed with Tyler, singing softly. James watched with the kind of attention that felt like listening rather than observing. "Victoria," he said suddenly. "My ex-fiancée. She left the night my mother died. I called her from the hospital. She wasn't there when I got home. Just a note saying she couldn't be with someone so emotionally unavailable." Sarah stopped swaying. "I built walls after that," James continued, "because walls hurt less than letting anyone in." He looked at Tyler, now calm in Sarah's arms. "Your boys don't know those walls exist. They just see someone to trust. Children feel more than they think," Sarah said softly. "Maybe they're smarter than us." Remember Victoria's name, because she shows up in exactly 4 minutes, and what she does sets off a chain reaction that ends with Tyler in that emergency room. "Stay with me." Sarah found the photograph by accident. Cleaning James's study, the desk drawer slightly open. A silver key still in the lock. Inside, a single photo. James, 5 years younger, arm around a blonde woman with sharp eyes. On the back, "Victoria, last good day." She put it back exactly as she found it. That afternoon, chopping vegetables, she felt someone behind her. "You saw it." Not a question. The drawer was open. "I'm sorry." "I know." James ran a hand through his hair. "Victoria, we were engaged 2 years. The night my mother was dying, I asked her to come to the hospital. She said she couldn't handle the emotion. When I got home, she was gone." He looked directly at Sarah. "I felt everything. I just didn't know how to show it anymore. Until 2 babies showed up drumming on my floor." Before Sarah could respond, Jake toddled in, face covered in yogurt, proudly holding a spoon. "Baba!" James crouched without hesitation, and Jake walked straight into his arms, yogurt and all. James caught him, laughing, not even thinking about his shirt. "He really sees you as his father," Sarah said softly. James looked up, Jake still in his arms. "Is that okay?" "I think it's more than okay." Now here's where everything accelerates, because Victoria just saw a tabloid photo of James with Sarah and the boys, and what she's about to do will either prove this family is real or destroy it completely. This happens in 90 seconds. Victoria showed up on a Thursday in a Blacktown car, designer everything, smile like broken glass. She walked past Sarah in the garden without a glance. "Victoria." James's voice was flat. "What are you doing here?" "I heard rumors. You and some domestic situation. Had to see for myself." "There's nothing to see." "Really?" "Because tabloids say Manhattan's most eligible bachelor is playing house with his maid." Victoria spotted Sarah through the window. "Oh, is that her?" She walked straight to the garden before James could stop her. "How sweet," Victoria said, dripping condescension. "Playing daddy to the help's children. Is this your midlife crisis?" "Because there are cheaper therapists." "Leave." James's voice cut like steel. Now, this little fantasy? Victoria ignored him, eyes on Sarah. It's temporary. You'll wake up one day and realize you're James Blackwood. And she's just... enough. James stepped between them, body language pure threat. Leave now or I'm calling security. Victoria's mask cracked, showing real anger. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret is wasting 2 years on someone incapable of actual human emotion. Victoria left. But what Sarah didn't know, and this is crucial, Victoria had already made a phone call to someone who owed her a favor, someone who worked at the Blackwood estate. That phone call? That's what leads to Tyler in the emergency room. Keep watching. 3 days later, James's mother's ring went missing. Family heirloom. Display case in James's private quarters. No forced entry. No broken lock. Just gone. Within an hour, whispers started. Quiet, then growing. Sarah felt the shift. Eyes following her. Conversations stopping when she entered rooms. Maria found her cleaning the second-floor hallway. Sarah, Mr. Blackwood wants to see you. James stood at his study window, didn't turn when she entered. I didn't take it, Sarah said immediately. I know. Then why? Because someone's making it look like you did. He finally faced her, expression furious. But not at her. Victoria was here. She had access. This is what she does, creates situations to destroy people. So what happens now? Now I prove what really happened. But Sarah, there's going to be pressure for me to let you go while this gets sorted. So I'm fired. No. Paid leave until I fix this. That's the same thing. It's not. I'm not abandoning you. But it felt like abandonment. Felt like the world falling apart again. It's fine, Sarah said, voice hollow. I understand. She packed that night. The note she left was simple. I didn't take it, but I understand why everyone thinks I did. Now here's what Sarah doesn't know yet, and what makes everything that happens next so crucial. James finds the ring in 48 hours. Fell through a loose floorboard. Just an accident. But by then, something else happens that changes everything. Pay attention to this next part. Sarah's apartment, day 3. Tyler had been fussy all day. Fever. Crying. Nothing helped. By 8 p.m. he was burning up. 103.2 degrees. By 9 p.m. he started seizing. Sarah called 911. Hands shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. Then she called the only other number she could think of. James answered on the first ring. Tyler's seizing. Ambulance is coming. I can't. I'm on my way. Stay on the phone with me. He was there in 12 minutes. Burst through her door as paramedics were loading Tyler onto a gurney. Jake was screaming. Sarah was trying to hold it together and failing. I'm coming with you, James said. Not a question. In the ambulance, James held Tyler's tiny hand while paramedics worked. Sarah gripped Jake, tears streaming silently. He's going to be okay, James said. To Sarah, to himself, to Tyler. You're going to be okay, buddy. I've got you. This moment right here, this is what the hook promised. But watch what happens when they get to the hospital, because that's when everything Victoria set in motion comes crashing down. At the ER, they stabilized Tyler. Febrile seizure. Scary but not life-threatening. He'd be fine. Sarah collapsed in a chair, Jake asleep against her shoulder, relief and exhaustion mixing into something that looked like breaking. Then 2 police officers walked in. Sarah Mitchell? She looked up, confused. We need to ask you some questions about a theft reported at the Blackwood estate. There's also been an allegation made that you've been... The officer glanced at James. Using your position to take advantage of Mr. Blackwood and gain access to valuable items. Sarah's face went white. James stood immediately. What allegation? From who? Anonymous tip. But there's evidence of texts between Ms. Mitchell and an unknown party discussing valuable items in your home. That's impossible, Sarah said. We have screenshots, time-stamped, from your phone number. Here's what Victoria did, and this is where everything either falls apart or comes together. She had someone clone Sarah's phone number and create fake text conversations about stealing from James. It's sophisticated, it's convincing, and it's about to determine whether Sarah goes to jail or not. I want to see those screenshots, James said, voice dangerous calm. The officer pulled out his tablet. Text messages, Sarah's number at the top, conversations about when the billionaire isn't home, and how much is the ring worth, and this could set us up for life. Sarah read them, face draining of color. I never sent these. I would never. They're from your number, the officer said. Then my number was spoofed. James pulled out his phone. Give me 5 minutes. He stepped away, making a call. Sarah could hear fragments. Need digital forensics now. Metadata on these texts. Don't care what it costs. 10 minutes later, a woman in a business suit arrived. Digital forensics expert. She examined the screenshots, pulled up real phone records, compared metadata. These are spoofed, she said within minutes. Routing shows they originated from a VPN service traced to a coffee shop in Tribeca. The actual phone these came from was never at any of these locations. It's sophisticated cloning, but sloppy execution. The officer looked uncertain. So you're saying? I'm saying these texts were faked by someone who wanted it to look like Ms. Mitchell sent them. Real texts would have different metadata, different routing patterns, different timestamps on the server end. These don't match her actual phone records at all. Now watch what James does next, because this is where you see exactly who he's become. I want to see your security footage from 3 days ago, James said to the officer. The day you say these texts were sent. We don't have. I have security footage from my estate, time-stamped, showing exactly where Sarah was during the times these texts were allegedly sent. He pulled up his phone, showed the footage. Sarah in the kitchen at 2:14 p.m. when one text was sent. Sarah in the garden with the boys at 4:47 p.m. when another went out. Sarah cleaning upstairs at 6:23 p.m. when a third message discussed stealing the ring. She was on my property, visible on cameras during every single timestamp, James said coldly. Unless she can be in 2 places at once, she didn't send these. The officer studied the footage, then the screenshots, then back. Who would want to frame her? He asked. I know exactly who. James pulled up his phone again, made another call. Security, pull the footage from 3 days ago, exterior cameras. Show me who entered through the service entrance between 1 and 5 p.m. He waited, then his face hardened. Send that to me now. His phone pinged. He showed the officer. Clear footage of Victoria entering through a service entrance, wearing staff clothes, moving through the mansion when she thought no one was watching. Victoria Ross, James said. My ex-fiancée. She was here the day the ring went missing. She had access to Sarah's schedule. She has a history of vindictive behavior when she feels slighted. The officer made notes. We'll need to follow up on this. You do that. In the meantime, are you charging Ms. Mitchell with anything? Not at this time, but we may have more questions. You know where to find us. The officers left. Sarah sat there, still holding Jake, tears streaming silently. It was her, she whispered. Victoria did all of this. I know. James sat beside her, careful not to wake Jake. And she's going to face charges for it. Fraud, harassment, filing false police reports. My lawyers are on it. Why would she? Because she saw something real happening and couldn't stand it. James looked at Tyler, sleeping peacefully now in the hospital crib. She wanted to prove I'd choose reputation over you, that I'd cave under pressure like I always did before. He took Sarah's hand. She was wrong. Now here's the part that makes this story what it is. What James says next changes everything about who he's become and where they're going. This is the payoff for every moment up until now. They stayed at the hospital until 2 a.m., waiting to make sure Tyler was stable. Jake slept draped across Sarah. Tyler's fever broke around 1:30. He can go home in the morning, the doctor said. Just a febrile seizure. Common in toddlers. Scary but not dangerous. Sarah nodded, exhausted beyond words. When the doctor left, James spoke quietly. I found the ring 2 days ago. Sarah looked at him. It fell through a loose floorboard. Just an accident. I knew immediately you had nothing to do with it, but I wanted to prove it before bringing you back." He met her eyes. "I was going to come to you tomorrow with evidence, an apology, and a question." "What question?" James stood, carefully so he wouldn't wake Jake. "Come home, not just to work. Home, as family." Sarah's breath caught. "I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. I know every reason this shouldn't work." He crouched beside her chair. "But for 35 years I built a life of control and distance and perfection, and I was miserable. Then you showed up with 2 babies and turned everything upside down." He gestured at Tyler, at Jake, at the hospital room they'd spent hours in together. "This is the most alive I've ever felt, including tonight, especially tonight, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of feeling everything." Sarah's tears fell freely now. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "Me too. But I'm more terrified of going back to who I was before you." Tyler stirred in his crib, made a small sound. James stood immediately, went to him, checked his temperature with the back of his hand like he'd learned to do. "Hey buddy," he whispered. "You scared us. Don't do that again. Okay?" Tyler opened his eyes, saw James and smiled. Dada. And James, this man who'd spent years building walls so high nobody could scale them, smiled back with tears in his eyes and said, "Yeah, I'm here. I'm always going to be here." Sarah watched them, this impossible scene, and felt something inside her completely break open. "Okay," she whispered. James looked at her. "Okay what?" "Okay to all of it. To coming home. To being family. To being terrified together." James crossed the room in 2 steps and kissed her. Gentle, certain, like a promise. Jake woke up and immediately demanded attention. Tyler wanted out of the crib. And for the next hour, they were just 4 people in a hospital room, exhausted and relieved and somehow impossibly becoming a family. The nursery wing opened 6 months later. Sarah designed every inch. James oversaw construction personally. By opening day, 12 staff members had enrolled their children. Victoria faced charges: fraud, harassment, falsifying evidence. She took a plea deal that included probation and community service. James never saw her again. The ring went back in its case, properly secured this time, with a photo next to it. James on the floor with Jake and Tyler, taken that first morning when everything changed. 2 years later, standing in that same living room where Tyler first called him Dada, James asked Sarah a question while both boys played at their feet. "Marry me." Not a speech, not production. Just 2 words and a ring and a life they'd built from impossible circumstances. Sarah looked at him, at her boys who now called him Dad without hesitation, at the home they'd created in a mansion that once felt like ice, and said the word that had changed everything from the start. "Okay." Somewhere in the nursery wing, filled with laughter and tiny footsteps and children who'd never know what it meant to be hidden, that word echoed like a promise kept. That's how a single mother's desperate gamble became something nobody expected. How 2 babies saw past walls adults couldn't climb. How love finds a way even when logic says it shouldn't. If the story hit you, drop a comment telling us which moment got you hardest. The emergency room? The fake texts? The moment James called himself Dada? We read every single comment. Smash that like button and subscribe to Echoes of Hope Stories for more incredible bedtime chill stories. Thanks for these 25 minutes. For believing broken people can heal. For understanding that family isn't about blood. It's about who stays when things get hard. Remember, sometimes the best things in life come from the choices that terrify us most.